Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the DEWA's Virtual Sustainability Week, Day 2 Masterclass. I'm Alicia Jinzhou, Program Manager at the University of Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership, CISO. I will be the chair for this masterclass, so you will see me a lot in the next few hours. So before we dive into today's session, for those who don't know about CISO, CISO is a globally influential institute developing leadership and solutions for a sustainable economy. We believe the economy can be rewired through focused collaboration between business, government, and financial institutions to deliver positive outcomes for people and environment. The institute works with leaders to tackle critical global challenges through action research, convening business groups and educations in the last 30 years. While we are working with industry leaders, policymakers, big organizations, we also acknowledge and appreciate innovation community. We believe innovation matters in the context of tackling climate change and all pressing sustainability issues. We believe sustainability covers many dimensions, and you could see 10 areas we listed here, and they broadly fit into the environmental and social challenges, which links to the people and the planet. At the CISO Accelerator, we leverage our expertise and experience to empower sustainability innovation. And what's exciting, this year, we are going to run the Accelerator program in net zero and built environment, both in the UK and China, where we will support innovators like the ones you are going to meet today. So by now, you probably have learned the two keywords for today's masterclass, sustainability and innovation. So now, before we dive in, let me share a Mentimeter with you. I have a couple of questions for you. So, are we able to see this? I assume you could. If not, I believe someone will tell me. So, question for you. Please use your phone, tablet, or laptop. Type in menti.com and use the code on the top, and then to log in. So everyone can share your thoughts on how important do you think innovation is for sustainability. And if we are doing it, it should come up live. So I'll give you a few seconds more. So please do. Right, now I have two people have done, I think innovation is very important for sustainability. Someone think so. Let's give it a few more minutes so we get a bit more volume, so to see how our room think about it. And there's no right or wrong answer, and this is entirely anonymous. So feel free to share your thoughts. I think it's important to know where we are from the beginning of the masterclass. Great. So this is like watching live games. It's growing, and you can all see the numbers growing. Fantastic. So I think we have quite a growing numbers saying they think it's quite important. I'm glad I didn't see anyone think it's not at all. So that's a good start, because our masterclass is about innovation. Right. So if you think so, or if you are a bit unsure, then hope today's session will give you a good idea of how innovation could really change the world for better. And for the time control, I'm going to jump to the next question. So check to the next question. So now this is the second question. How do you know how you could support innovation? Well, I know it's a challenging question, but don't worry, that's a good start. So we mark where we are beginning of the journey, and then at the end of it, we will have a look again, see if we improve this journey, help you improve to make you feel more confident or so on. So it's great. We have quite some people that have already done something to support innovation. And some people feel like, oh, I have a good idea. And quite some people also feel, yeah, maybe. So I think in your head, you are like, yeah, maybe you have some idea, but I don't know whether it's good or it's not so much. And so today, hopefully, it's a platform for you to validate your ideas and then share it with your colleagues and then see how potentially you could do that. So that's all very great. And you could carry on voting for it, but just let me come back here. So today's journey, as I said, hopefully by the end of it, you will feel, very hopeful and confident that you could play a role in promoting sustainability and supporting innovation. Ooh, questions we have. So how are we going to do that? As you could see on the outline, this is today's journey. And yes, that's me talking. I promise it will be very short. And after this, I will introduce a very diverse group of innovators to you. So from many different countries, continents, even with different backgrounds, and they created their innovation across different areas. Some are related to water and electricity directly, but some are indirectly. But they are all very exciting and super inspiring. So you might even find some are just so relevant to your daily life as well. And then after this, in our innovation showroom session, it's like the British TV series Dragon's Den. Imagine you are from an investment company and you will listen to 8 entrepreneurs pitching their innovations and the impact they have. You, as a dragon, will decide which business will you support, will you invest. Obviously not actual investing, but that's where you will kind of do a role play. And so, yes, you will be doing role play and exploring how you could potentially, support a business of choice. And you have already received the Dragon's Notepad, and you can use it to note down information while listening to the presentations and mark your questions for each speaker. And the Notepad is just for you, so use it or go old style, old school, using pen and paper. It's entirely up to you. After Innovation Showroom, we will have a short break, and then you will be going into breakout rooms for Q&A. You have already received the link to Microsoft Teams in advance, so that's where you will have the next 2 sessions on Microsoft Teams with your team. You will have 7 minutes with each speaker. They will come into the room, answer a bunch of questions, and leave, and next speakers will come in. So ensure you get your questions ready, and there will be a facilitator in each room to facilitate. We might not be able to fit in all questions, but our innovators are all very happy for you to get in touch with them by emails afterwards. And just a gentle reminder, there's no such thing as stupid questions. This is a safe place for everyone to ask questions. So don't be shy, and if you have any questions, just ask. So after the Q&A session, there is another break. Then you will be in the same breakout room. So don't leave during the break. You can switch off the camera, but if you do leave, just use the same link to come back. And then you as a team need to decide which 2 businesses you want to support. You could participate based on your role in DEWA, but you could, if you feel a bit, I'm not sure how to use my current role, then you could also do the role play and put yourself in one of these 4 departments, and then to think how you could support business in the role. So you will be discussing with as the team, brainstorm any possible ways to support this innovation in Dubai. And don't be afraid, go a bit wild, think outside the box, because the aim of this exercise is to get your innovative brand to work and collaborate with your team from different departments. And then, of course, we want to share learnings with other teams all together. So we will come back to go to webinar. Remember, there's no break in between. So come back straight away. And then I will ask a question to each room. There will be different questions for each room. And one person have been nominated for each room, then will feedback to share with us all. Then finally, that's the final session. We will have another amazing speaker to share insight with you on how employees can be ambassadors for sustainable corporations. So now, last thing before we enter this exciting innovation showroom, one set of Menti questions will be launched after each presentation. So please just use the same link that you used earlier. And then after each presentation, just go onto it. My colleague will launch the question. Then you can just rate it for 8 times because we have 8 innovators. Great. So now, are we all ready? Oh, I wish I could hear you shouting like ready to me. But anyhow, let's entering our innovation showroom. So Murat, over to you. Please do. Do play the video for us. So I hope you are all very excited about our innovation showroom. Our first speaker is going to talk about laundry. You probably are wondering, what? Laundry? What does that to do with sustainability? That indeed was my first reaction when I first heard Oxwash. But then these guys totally spin my mind just like washing machine. Our speaker, Tom DeWilton, Chief Operation Officer and Chief Sustainability Officer of Oxwash. Tom studied biomedical engineering at the University of Oxford before spending several years designing and building tree houses around the world. He declined a place to study at Cambridge University to join Dr. Kyle Grant, an ex-NASA engineer and co-founder of Oxwash. Now, Tom is going to tell you about Oxwash, the future of sustainability, sustainable laundry. So now over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Viola, for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for having me. It's a real honor to be here, as Viola said, to speak about the future of sustainable laundry.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
So today in my presentation, I'm going to talk to you about the problem that we are solving here at Oxwash. Of course, I'm also going to talk about the solution, our sustainable environmental and social impact, our team, and the future, our vision for the future of Oxwash. So to dive right in, what problem are we solving? Well, quite frankly, the laundry industry is broken. 250,000 tons of CO2 are produced by the commercial laundry industry each year. That's the equivalent of sequestration by 4 million trees over a period of 10 years. 35% of plastic ocean pollution comes from the laundry industry, and we'll talk a bit more about plastic microfibers later in my presentation. Here in the UK, 65% of potable drinking water is attributed to the commercial laundry industry, which I'm sure you will agree is completely unacceptable. But not only that, the model itself is broken. Lost items and mix-ups are commonplace. Up to 15% of items are simply discarded into landfill or even worse, burnt. And the model, the industry is traditionally and famously inflexible and unreliable. So I'm sure you'll agree there must be a better way. And of course there is. Here at Oxwash, we are building the solution. We offer an on-demand, vertically integrated service. So what does that look like in reality? Well, we serve both consumer, individual and business customers, and we come to either your place of residence or your place of business, and we collect your laundry using our big blue electric bikes. We then bring it back to our laundry hubs, which are conveniently placed within urban environments, where we then wash your items using the latest in laundry technology to ensure that they're not impacting the planet. By vertically integrated, I mean that we own every step of the process, the logistics, the washing, drying, folding, ironing, and redelivery. And we think that's key to be able to really focus on our sustainability. And we are known as the Sustainable Laundry Guys. We were recently rewarded by the GBBA Global Best Practices CNET International Laundry Award, which was a real honor. A bit more about our solution. Here you can see our big blue electric bikes. We use the very latest in laundry technology to achieve ambient temperature disinfection, so low temperature washing, and we do that using ozone, some very clever technology. We filter or we reclaim 40 to 60% of the water used in our process, and we also filter out the plastic microfibers, those same fibers that would find their way into the water system and later into the ocean. Above all of this sits our proprietary software. We have an in-house team of software engineers who are building the future of AI-driven machine learning optimization for laundry processes, and I'm particularly excited about that side of things. So it's our mission, quite simply, to change the way the world does laundry forever. And here I am with Kyle and Amy, our team. So our impact, what are we really trying to impact here in terms of the fight against the climate emergency? Well, primarily it's energy consumption. We are aiming, and our North Star metric is to achieve a net zero solution to the entire commercial laundry industry. And how do we do that? That's mainly through low temperature washing, reducing the energy we need to heat up water, but also low temperature drying. Here in the UK, of course, we don't have the luxury of being able to simply hang garments or textiles to let them dry. So we need to use either electricity or gas. As I mentioned, we also filter or we reclaim 40 to 60% of the water used in our process, as illustrated by our infographic here. We filter out the plastic microfibers and also our bikes. Our bikes, of course, are reducing the pollution and the congestion in the urban environments that we operate in. And we're also really passionate about reducing the 350,000 tons of garments, of clothes that get sent to landfill every year. We think that's completely unacceptable. In terms of the team, so the business was founded by Dr. Kyle Grant, an ex-NASA engineer who founded the business during his PhD at the University of Oxford. Myself and Tony head up the team, and we have some rather notable investors and advisors, including Biz Stone, one of the co-founders of Twitter. The future. What does Oxwash look like in 1, 3, and 5 years' time? Well, currently we have 23 full-time employees spread over 3 cities, Oxford, Cambridge, and London, where I am at the moment. We've received 2.25 million Great British pounds of investment to date, and we're currently looking at another further £1 million investment round, and that's to fuel our growth. You can see here a graph indicating both our consumer and our business revenue against the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I've just highlighted our partnership with Reckitt Benckiser, the large corporation. Outside of our national expansion, we'll be looking, of course, at international expansion. Initially, we're looking at a postal model. How can we receive more items without having to open more laundries? We'll then look at a franchise model, and that's what I'm really excited about. How can we cookie cutter our Oxwash model and apply it in different demographics? Initially, metropolitan Europe, North America, and then hopefully Dubai. And on top of that, we also have our software license, this very clever machine learning driven software. How can we apply that learning to laundries all over the world and have a sustainable impact? So that's me. I'm Tom DeWilton. It's been an honor to talk, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Tom. I believe everyone in the room now have learned a lot more about the laundry and the impact it has. They probably will have some questions for you later in our Q&A section as well. Our next speaker is Ali Safari, founder of Farad AI. Ali trained as a nuclear engineer at Cambridge University. After researching fusion at Jet Reactor in Oxford, he transitioned to a commercial environment in low carbon, a leading London-based renewable energy investment firm. He realized that the distribution network is not ready for the energy transition, and he set up Farad AI to develop the framework of the energy transition so energy stockholders can move faster to a net zero future. Now, I will let Ali tell you more about Farad AI. Ali, over to you.
Thanks, Viola, for the introduction. Thank you so much for having us. What I'm hoping to do at the end of this presentation is to leave you with 3 key takeaways. The sustainability challenge that we have in energy transition, that's number 1. Number 2, our view of the market and where it's heading. And number 3, how we develop a unique technology that we can help to address some of the challenges that we see in energy transition. Did you know more than 50% of electricity in the UK is being wasted before it reaches the household? Partly this is because the operators, they lack visibility on how electricity is being distributed. But also, we have a growth of renewable energy which is coming online exponentially. Last year in the UK, more than 40% of the electricity was generated from renewable energy sources. Renewable energy, they have an intermediate generation profile, which means it will make the energy wastage problem even worse. The energy landscape is completely shifting. The UK economy was one of the first major economies to commit to a binding agreement of net zero by 2050. And that means a significant reconfiguration of how electricity is being produced and used. The distribution network sits in the middle of this transition, and lots of different stakeholders, they want to have access to how electricity is being distributed. But there is not a platform out there which can help them to give them those analytics. We see a future where the current electrical infrastructure can operate in 100% low carbon energy technologies. And our mission is to develop the Bloomberg of that future, so we can enable different stakeholders to move towards a net zero future with the smart grid analytics. Let's talk about the solution that we've developed so far. So we've developed an AI-powered digital twin for the low voltage parts of the distribution network. The way that we've designed this technology is through statistical modeling, and we understand how exactly the algorithms are performing and behaving, which enables us to put it into different use cases. The first use case, which is the product which we currently have in the market, is helping renewable energy developers predict whether they can get a successful grid connection to develop their projects. The second use case, which is our focus right now, is going to be helping finding optimal locations for rapid or fast EV charging opportunities. And the third use case, or the other use cases, as we move towards a real-time electricity trading, we can predict where the grid is going to be congested and feed those analytics to the traders or the market operators. Let's dive deep on how this solution is being developed. In layer one, as I said, it's a bottom-up peak load prediction at the last mile distribution network. We've trialed this technology so far in London, in 10 sites in London, and sometimes we achieve 93% accuracy comparing our prediction to real sensor data. In the UK, we have 400,000 low voltage substations, which they're not monitored. They don't have any monitoring systems. And in a lot of developed countries, for a long time, they didn't need to know that. But right now, everything is changing because we have lots of renewable energy sort of generation, which is being connected at that part of the network, such as rapid EV charging or fast EV charging, or your EV, which you will charge at home. The second part of the technology that we developed is a probabilistic load flow model analysis, which allows us to do various different scenario analysis or various different studies that we need to do on the grid. This is where we launched the product as we have it on the market right now, which is helping renewable energy developers finding a spare capacity in the grid so they can develop renewable energy assets such as wind farms, solar farms, batteries. And the third solution is going to be combining layer one or layer two, solution number one and solution number two, to run various different analysis and predict the different types of constraints, the different types of problems with which the grid could have. And we can sort of use the platform or algorithms in a way to solve those challenges and problems and untap new market opportunities, untap new business models that we can generate value for different stakeholders. The current focus for our team right now is enabling an AI platform that we can deploy rapid or fast EV charging quicker. This is where we think we can have the most value and impact in the short term. The UK's transportation sector is responsible for 28% of the UK's emission, and site prospecting and grid reinforcement costs will make or break for these infrastructure projects. What we're proposing is we've got this digital twin for the power sector, which allows them to assess the spare capacity in the grid. But we're bringing land and planning data to assess land ownership and planning constraints, which potentially they would have for building these infrastructure projects, as well as bringing data sets from the mobility and traffic data sets to predict the asset utilization rates as they build these assets so they can make the business case for their investment committee. What we're trying to do, we're trying to be the single source of truth for different stakeholders in the UK or abroad and globally to get the analytics from and move faster to a net zero future. The current state of art in the UK is we've got 6 different distribution network companies which they provide heat maps, and then those heat maps, they lack quantitative spare capacity. There is no integration of other data sources such as land or mobility or other data sources, and the system has a limited functionality or predictive capabilities. And we're trying to change that. We're trying to help different stakeholders to move much faster to this net zero future. Why our solution is unique? Our solution is unique because of three things. Number one, the algorithms that we're designing are statistical model, which means the outputs are interpretable, they're accountable. We can put it into different use cases. And with more data, we can refine the predictions and solve new problems. And number three, we have a team which are experts in energy, technology, and science. We are nimble, which means we can tailor the solution to specific customers' need. So if you think our technology or our approach is going to add value to operation, we can solve problems that you potentially have or some new use cases, I would love to hear from you so we can have an in-depth conversation about it. Thank you so much for your time, and if there is any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
Our next innovation is actually super relevant to the current times because it is related to the vaccines. We all know the importance of vaccines, but do you know the vaccine carriers are equally important in terms of saving lives? Kitty Liao is the founder of Ideobatic, an award-winning social enterprise tackling last mile vaccine cold chain issues. The Smile vaccine cooling system she designed and developed has won 15 innovation awards globally. Ideobatic is funded by Expo 2020 Dubai and UK's Royal Academy of Engineering. She isn't only an experienced engineer, but also a humanitarian. And Ideobatic is the combination of the two. So now, without further ado, I will let Kitty tell you more about her story and Ideobatic. Over to you, Kitty.
Thank you very much, Bella. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kitty Liao, the founder of Ideobatic. So I spent more than 10 years building innovative systems in very cold environment, such as in liquid helium, down to minus 270 degrees Celsius, in the world's largest science laboratory, CERN, in Switzerland, in the UK's National Physical Laboratory. 7 years ago, I took part in a humanitarian event at CERN, where I realized there's a big problem. This is what I found out. According to the World Health Organization, 2 to 3 million children die each year of a vaccine-preventable disease. And currently, 20 million children worldwide still have no access to basic vaccinations. Globally, up to 85% of the vaccines are spoiled. This equates to at least $1 billion wasted every year. A major reason for this is that vaccines become damaged due to the fluctuation in temperature, so they either become too hot or too cold at the last few miles of delivery, the so-called last mile. With my background in cold systems and innovation, I thought there must be a way to solve this. This is why we founded Ideobatic. So what is a typical last mile journey? Health workers carry cool boxes with ice packs in extreme weather on foot, bike, donkey, canoe, or a combination of these. Bear in mind that all vaccines need to be kept between 2 and 80 degrees before vaccination, and these journeys can take up to 7 days. However, these cool boxes last for up to 50 hours only, even when they remain closed. On the right here, you could see all the vaccine carriers used globally, and they're essentially cool boxes. Some of the biggest problems that cause vaccine spoilage include human error and incorrect handling. We captured this photo in Nigeria. These trained health workers often left the lid open throughout the vaccination, and this leads to spoilage of the vaccines. As you can imagine, it's 40 degrees outside. Besides this problem, you can see that only one ice pack was used. But all of these vaccine cool boxes require 4 ice packs to keep vaccines at the correct temperature. So we took these vaccine cool boxes back to the lab and analyzed the performance. So, what happens when only one ice pack was used in the box? The temperature only went down to 17 degrees. So essentially, they were carrying a warm box with vaccines. Now, what happens when health workers close the cool boxes every time after they use it, and they use the correct number of ice packs as they should? Still, within 3 hours, opening and closing the box during the vaccination, the temperature had already exceeded the maximum allowed temperature. So in reality, these cool boxes are not able to keep vaccines cold for long enough after start of use. Not to mention that these doors are often left completely open throughout the vaccination. This is why we created SMILE, a smart last mile vaccination system to address these issues. SMILE is the world's first and the only foolproof system to solve the vaccination spoilage issues. The self-closing door means it's okay to forget to close the lid, and the patented air locking mechanism means opening the door does not affect the rest of the vaccines because they're all kept in separate chambers. SMILE can maintain the correct temperature for 3 to 6 days without power, even during vaccinations, when the doors are opened and closed constantly. We have a one ice pack design, which means it minimizes the issue of putting either too much or too little ice to damage the vaccines. The small model of SMILE can carry 540 doses and has a vaccination organization system to increase vaccination efficiency. Now the world is vaccinating its population, but managing the cold chain remains a monumental task, including in the developed world. Regardless of which vaccine is used and whether it's stored at -80 or -20 degrees, they will all be brought up to fridge temperature at the last mile, which is just before vaccinating the patients. SMILE is the world's most advanced last mile vaccination system, which will play a very important part in the future of cold chain logistics. SMILE will not just save millions of lives, it will also save billions of vaccine wastage. SMILE has been iterated, tested, and field proven, and we will be showcasing in the Expo 2020 Dubai this year. Oops. Sorry. We plan to replace cool boxes used in both the developed and developing world to efficiently and effectively vaccinate the population in need and help transfer biosamples for research and genome sequencing. SMILE's technology can also be applied to provide cooling more efficiently in buildings and minimize heat transfer in large-scale infrastructure. We help tackle SDG goals, and we have won 15 awards globally. We're in fact in Dubai speaking to partners and sponsors to manufacture and deploy SMILE globally. Please get in touch, and we're delighted for you to try it in person. We aim to reach out to everyone, however difficult the journey is, and let's spread SMILE across the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kitty. Indeed, let's spread SMILE across the world. And I hope there are also some smiles on our participants' face now. After learning about the SMILE, now I want to introduce Dr. Alessandro Pastori, the Executive Director at Cambridge. Cambridge, you might be thinking about, Cambridge and fridge, and you are not wrong. Cambridge is a business that aims to become the worldwide leader in high-efficient gas-free refrigeration technology based on magnetic properties of solid-state materials. Alessandro is also one of the 4 founders of the company, and his team is responsible for the market engagement and the industry standard definition. Before this venture, he had been working internationally for 12 years in marketing and business development positions for blue chip companies. And the last position held was market strategy vice president at Siemens. Not only he has an MBA degree, but also a PhD in automation and control engineering. In the last year, he has been also invited speakers at clean tech and climate change conferences and radio programs. Today, we are very pleased to have Alessandro here to tell you a bit more about Cambridge. Alessandro, over to you.
Thanks, Viola, for the kind introduction, and I will jump straight to the current sustainable challenge that the refrigeration sector is facing. Refrigeration and cooling sector accounts for about 8% of the global greenhouse gases, either as direct emission because the gas compression technology use gases, which accounts about of 3% of this 8%, and also by the energy used by the refrigeration system. Also, refrigeration and cooling demand is expected to grow in the decades to come. So, what's the new cooling technology that can solve this? Department of Energy and the scientists and academic community identified magnetic cooling, exploiting magnetocaloric properties of new alloys as the most advanced and the solid state cooling technology that is gas-free, high efficiency, recyclable, and scalable. At Cambridge, we are developing gas-free, high-efficiency magnetic refrigeration technology, and we change how cooling is delivered, giving an unprecedented level of application design flexibility, which is both cost-effective and enables step change in energy efficiency. We started as a spin-off of University of Cambridge in 2005. And in this long journey, we have been collaborating with major appliance manufacturers like Arçelik, Beko, Whirlpool, and we have collaborating with more than 40 research centers and suppliers across Europe. We are currently seeking new funds to upscale and reach the market with our technology, having as a major shareholder the University of Cambridge and a series of business angels, and having been supported by the European Commission research grants and UK Agency Innovation Agency. How does it work in practice, and how Cambridge can scale up and bring to market this technology? We purchase bulk rods of these special alloys made basically of iron, and we cut it in plates and we assemble in parallel plate structure called the regenerators. Two cascaded of these regenerated made what we call it the cooling module, and depending on the cooling power required by the final application, we are be able to serve from 10 watts to 100,000 watts cooling power requirements. And in so doing, we are able to serve all the refrigeration and cooling markets, starting from domestic and commercial refrigeration, where we have been already proved, for example, thanks to the flexibility in how we use our technology, that in Cambridge, United Kingdom, we can cut by 4 the consumption of a fridge compared to the best appliance already in the market. This is a market of $60 billion a year with about 200 million units shipped to market every year. Also, the heat pump and the air conditioning market can be served by our technology, and working with partners, we have already been able to prove a positive return of investment in decarbonization of the residential heating. And we are talking about 100 billions and growing market. Another particular interesting market is also data center cooling. Basically, 40% of the data center electricity is consumed just to keep cold the data center. And with the 5G network, the number of data centers will increase exponentially. And we already proved that we can provide an energy consumption reduction of more than 20% compared to the current technology, and presents a return of investment of less than 2 years. Cambridge disruptive technology solves many problems. we see we are gas free, so we definitely could just cancel the 3% of direct global greenhouse gases emitted by the current gas compression industry. Also, we enable high efficiency mode that can dramatically cut the energy consumption of the current fridge, but also for other applications like air conditioning. We enable multiple and novel use and a new way to bring cooling to the final application. It's modular and scalable. We avoid critical raw materials. We largely recycle. We are able to recycle entirely at the end of life our cooling hub, and we already proved that the environmental impact of manufacturing of our prototype is comparable of that of a gas compressor. So CAN-Fridge technology is the cooling technology needed to fix the climate and bringing quality of life improvement to all. Thanks for your attention. I'm here to answer to any question, and please, if you need further information, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro. Impressive technology with huge potential. Right. After learning about the refrigeration, which is relevant to our daily life, let's talk about something also relevant to our daily life. I believe many of you probably do recycle your clothes when they are too old or no longer fit. But do you know there is a better way to deal with your unwanted clothes? My next speaker, Amy Atron, Chief Operation Officer of Loop. With over 10 years of experience within the fashion industry in Sydney, New York, and London, Amy's real passion lies in sustainability and working with brands and consumers to rethink the concept of waste. Amy is going to tell you about Loop and how upcycle could change the landscape of the wasteful fashion industry. Over to you, Amy.
Thank you, Viola. So I am Amy Ayrton, one of the co-founders of Loop. So as it stands today, the fashion industry is one of the most polluting industries of the planet. It is responsible for 10% of the annual global carbon emissions, which is more than international flights and maritime shipping combined. But how is this possible? The apparel industry alone represents the equivalent to about 3.3 billion tons of CO2 emission. Production of clothing is multi-layered and requires multiple steps and production processes. Most of these require international travel between each step. More than 50% of these emissions come from 3 stages of fabric production only, including dyeing and finishing, yarn preparation, and fiber production. So on top of the CO2 produced throughout the production process, it is estimated that 1.5 trillion litres of water is used each year by the fashion industry. 2.6% of the natural fresh water globally is produced producing cotton, with 20% of the freshwater pollution being attributed to textile production and dyeing. So it's becoming increasingly clear that the way we produce and consume clothing is unsustainable. So with these 1.5 trillion tons of water used annually, and all of the CO2 that is produced, we are creating 100 billion pieces of clothing each year, with only 1% of this being recycled into new clothing. This is not only bad for the environment, it's bad business. Which leads us into upcycling. So upcycling by definition is to reuse clothing or objects in such a way as to create a product of higher quality or value than the original components. Upcycling in itself can double the life expectancy of garments without the need for further engineering processes, thus adding in any further carbon footprint. This makes upcycling clothing one of the most sustainable things you can do in the industry today. There are a lot of designers that are currently working in this space, but at this point in time, there's no singular marketplace celebrating and promoting these upcycle designers. forcing them to sell on other resale platforms, often devaluing the value of their creations. For consumers currently working in and producing in this space, they can spend a lot of time of excessive searching for very high quality designers. Here at Looped, we have a solution. Looped is an online marketplace for upcycled designers. Our overall mission is to reduce textile waste. We do this with a community of upcycled designers creating products from materials that would have otherwise been discarded. So, the Looped product is a B2C marketplace. It is an online marketplace which has two separate profiles that's available, designers and buyers. Buyers are vetted prior to approval, and once approved, they are able to have a space where they can show their creations, talk about the story of the production of each of their products, as well as indicating the materials that would have otherwise been discarded that have been used to create these products. Each product listed on Looped consists of a minimum of 90% recycled or upcycled materials. So it's estimated that there's 400 billion square meters of textiles produced annually. From this, 60 billion square meters are left on the cutting room floor. Looped wants to go one step further than the average marketplace. We want to partner with manufacturers in the UK and EU to collect this unwanted and discarded material, frequently unable to be sold because of ununiform shapes or any blemishes. We want to collect this material and provide this to the designers that are selling on the platform. So therefore, we are utilizing these materials that would have either been discarded or incinerated, and in essence, we're closing the loop. So the resale market is booming. So it's estimated that 70% of consumers are stating now that addressing climate change is more important than ever. But still, the sustainable market is focused on creating new products as opposed to reutilizing existing materials in their current form. Looped is in the perfect position to become the market leader in upcycling, to be able to targeting the growing percentage of different generations that have indicated that they're interested in purchasing upcycling. So the current market as it stands is primarily focused on resale platforms where these designers are currently selling. High-end luxury brands are currently utilizing upcycling into their current collections, but at this point, there is not one marketplace that focuses solely on upcycling. So Looped is in the prime position to be the market leader. So Looped is a value-driven company. We believe in our principles and we strive for these, and they drive every decision that we make. Our core values are guided by our 5 key C's, being creativity, community, collaboration, care, and circularity. We fundamentally believe in the value of materials in their current form, that it just takes a little bit of creativity in order to utilize them. And we wish to achieve this with our community, a community of like-minded, eco-conscious creators and designers that are facilitating and can see the future of fashion. As we see it, fashion is culture and culture drives change. Looped is in the prime position to be rethinking how the industry views and consumes waste. So if you're interested or you'd like to hear further details from us, please reach out because we'd love to keep you in the loop. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Amy. It's great to learn about Looped and learn how we all can contribute to a more sustainable fashion industry. Super. Now, our next speaker, we want to talk about tree, more specifically, tree seeds. Dr. Alicia Jinzhou is the founder and CEO of Zoe Bio, and she began her career as an academic researcher and obtained a PhD in materials chemistry from the University of Bristol in the UK. Driven by her desire to see more academic innovations adopted by the industry to make a real-world impact, she worked in partnership development between industry and academic sector internationally. Following that, in 2019, she created her startup, Zoe Bio, wishing to contribute her skills to help the forestry sector reach their ambitions to tackle the climate emergency and improve their sustainability impact. Now, I will let Alicia to tell you how Zoe Bio intend to drive adoption of their environmentally conscious seed technology in the wider agriculture sector internationally. Over to you, Alicia.
Thank you very much, Viola, and good morning to everyone joining the event today. I'm really pleased to introduce my company to you today. So at Zoe Bio, we create innovative seed performance technology that protects seeds from the effects of drought and enables higher yields. With climate change, we see drier spring and summer weather across much of the world. And actually 17 countries, which are home to 1/4 of the world's population, now face extremely high water stress. In agriculture, this comes with losses of over $6 billion every year. And actually agriculture is the biggest consumer of water globally, and climatic stress puts even more pressure on limited water resources that are required for crop production. And there is another problem that we're looking to solve with our innovation, which is associated with reforestation. Globally, governments around the world have now committed to reforesting of over 170 million hectares of degraded land by 2030, which is about 20 times of the area of the UAE. And this comes at a cost of over $2 billion a year. However, the seed resources for reforestation are limited, and actually much of these precious resources are wasted, as much as 60 to 90%, as the seed fails to germinate due to drought and predation. So with the support of Scottish public forestry sector, we developed our first product, which is a moisture-retaining seed coating for tree seed. The coating material is a dry film that forms a thin film around the seed. And when it comes in contact with water, it absorbs it like a sponge and swells up to 50 times, forming a protective water reservoir around the seed. And last year, we carried a trial of a coated seed at a forest nursery in Scotland, and we showed that our treatments can increase seed germination and also survival of the young seedlings of up to 40% under water stress conditions. And what's important about our coating innovation is that the coatings are based on naturally derived materials, and they do not contain microplastics. That's actually in contrast to most of the current seed coating solutions that are used in the agriculture market that contain microplastics. Also, our coating is capable of releasing nutrients to the seed in a controlled manner. And we've also actually developed another product, which is a biodegradable soil additive formed with a similar moisture-retaining material. And that increases the water retention capacity of the soil and reduces the need for irrigation. And we are doing larger trials of both solutions at the Scottish Forest Nursery later this year. And beyond Scotland and the Scottish forestry market, we have a wider opportunity to apply this tree seed innovation in other regions, and we're planning to conduct trials in Scandinavia market next year. Beyond forestry, we have started testing our materials on agricultural seed and plan to enter the wider agricultural seed market by partnering with seed companies. Regarding the sustainability impacts of our innovation, we assess the impact of using our coated tree seeds in Scotland in the context of how much more carbon dioxide can be captured by the extra trees that are produced due to our innovation being adopted. So for every 10% improvement in germination, we assess that the net impact of the technology is capturing of over 70 tons of carbon dioxide every year per every ton of coated seed. Also, what we've already observed but not yet quantified is that with our innovations, especially the moisture retaining soil additive, growers can reduce the need for irrigation, saving water. They can reduce the loadings of fertilizer as the fertilizer runoff from the soil will be likely reduced, and also use land more efficiently. And applied in agriculture, we can also have an impact on improving food security. So taking all those benefits together, at Silvibio, we are striving to help embed sustainability across the agriculture and forestry industries. And also we are striving to have an impact in adapting to and mitigating against the effects of climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alicia. I believe we all look forward to seeing the impact Silvibio could bring to the wider agriculture sector soon. Time flies. We have already heard from 6 innovators, and there are 2 more. The next one up is about water. I have Marco Westergren here. He is the head of analytics and industry solutions at Infotiles. A little bit about Marco before I hand it over to him. He is an educated hydrologist who underpins the water angle, which is fairly niche, just about everywhere in the world. His experience not only lies in the energy sector, from production to future prognosis and planning, but also in the water and wastewater utility sector. He is responsible for data management across the entire value chain, from water collection via transport to release of treated wastewater. He decided to join Infotiles in 2019 as he found the missing piece from Infotiles' technology platform. Now, I will let Marco tell you more about this platform himself. So Marco, over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Our company is based on a principle, and our slogan is making sense of data. So before I joined, we had the technology platform ready to go, but we have since switched our focus to increase the insights into how water systems functions as a whole and how assessing segments have positive effects around the entire value chain. Just to put some perspective on how different it is locally where I am and what problems we aim to solve for our clients here. We're looking at a changing climate and an aging grid where we see an increase in urban flooding as well as droughts that put strains on the water supply system. And the water supply system already has a significant amount of water loss. In Europe as a whole, the average is around 26%, and Norway is actually above the average. Further adding to the complexity of doing analysis across the value chains is the data quality, particularly in older systems, are either unavailable or not of good enough quality to perform modern analytics, and we aim to solve that with our platform. Furthermore, the European Union has signed the Water Directive, which has quality requirement for freshwater sources as well as waters up to 1 kilometer from the coastline. And as it looks right now, only 65% of the assessed waters will have the quality needed to conform with regulations that are incoming. And in the human aspect of the chain, the maintenance backlog for Norway as a whole is estimated to be at $45 billion. So in order to reach a status quo that will maintain low leakage levels as well as protect the environment and sustainability efforts, you need to both catch up the maintenance backlog and build for the future. And what's common everywhere in the world, no matter the water source or system, is you need to produce the water either from desalination or siphoning it off a river, treated to potable quality, distributed with minimal losses, make sure it reaches the citizens and is collected for treatment and transport and released safely of sufficient quality. There are many, many solutions that address segments of the water cycle through digital or physical technology or measurements, but our goal is to provide the holistic view by enabling to bridge the gap between the data you already have and being future-proof for what technologies may come in the future, so they don't exist as silos in parallel, but work to generate insights. So what does that mean for what we do? We utilize the technology platform that was built by Infotiles before my arrival. Their background was through both management consulting and integration and IT consulting. And their initial goal and frustration was that in major infrastructure or integration projects, they were out of the picture when the fun began because so much time had been spent on the technological implementation that could have been spent on solving actual problems. By utilizing these tools, we are market leaders in speed and adaptability to new sectors. So we currently support more than 300 IoT sensors. We support legacy and information from competing IT systems such as asset management, GIS databases, open data sources such as weather, mobility, and of course SCADA as the primary source of highly resolution time series data. And what we do is allow these to be combined in real time and allow the results from these analytics to be shared across the value chain, which means using the same solution, we provide the technical insights that you need from your tablet in the field, while simultaneously enabling management, project leaders, and plant operators to view the same data as it makes sense to them in real time. By having this common understanding across the organization and across different sectors, we increase the availability, increase the common understanding to make sure goals are realized across the cycle and perform better analytics that lead to reduced lead time diagnostics. And why we do this is it's our belief that in the end, it's humans who will be making the decisions and being the stakeholders. And by helping make sense of the data, you will increase the sustainability and value across the chain. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Marco, for sharing with us. And I like the slogan, making sense of data. And sometimes data is there, but the challenge has been how we turn data into information. Now, our last innovation. We have already heard from laundry, smart grid, refrigeration, vaccine carriers, and so on. What can be our final innovation for this innovation showroom? I want to share the excitement and the wow I had when I first came across with Petit Plis. I have Ryan Mario Yassin here today with us, CEO and founder of Petit Plis. Before you are going to be wowed, I want to tell you a little bit about Ryan first. Ryan is a design engineer with a background in aeronautics. Ryan invented, photographed, and promoted Petit Plis in 2017, while he was a global innovation design student. Since graduating in 2017, Ryan have evolved Petit Plis designs from a proof of concept to a commercially available design and a trademarked brand in the UK, EU, USA, and is pending as well. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? So now, without further ado, let's welcome Ryan, and over to you, Ryan.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Viola. As you said, I'm Ryan Mario Yassin, founder and CEO of Petit Plis. The reason why we exist is because the garment industry is the world's second largest polluter, and that's a pretty bad thing. but we already know what the solution is to that, and that is to extend the life and use of our garments. This is the best way we can reach our carbon, water, and waste emission targets. So this is Viggo. He's my nephew. When he was born, I wanted to purchase a gift for him, and I realized that I knew nothing about children's wear. I knew nothing about the sizing. I just didn't know what to get. And when I finally decided on the perfect gift, it was a nice little top. I sent it over to him in Denmark, and by the time it arrived, it didn't even fit. So that was a real pain point for me, and it started to make me think, why do we miniaturize adult clothes for children? Why do we not design clothes for children from the ground up? Because they are very different to adults. They grow so quickly, and that needs to be designed for. So as you can see on the right, children grow 7 sizes in their first 2 years on Earth. So my solution was a structure embedded within a garment that grew bidirectionally to custom fit a range of ages from 9 months to 4 years. The design is patented, and what we're doing with this is essentially trying to shift people's behavior to reduce their consumption. So you can fit 7 sizes into this, and even if you forget to purchase garments a couple of times, you save so much from unnecessary waste. My background is as an aeronautical engineer, where I specialized in deployable structures for nanosatellites. I then went to the Royal College of Art and mapped out the entire garment industry and looked at where I could use my technical skills to bring some positive impact onto the entire value chain. But the approach was very holistic. So it was trying to understand what were the implications of me changing one part of the value chain on the rest of the stakeholders. So if you change the cost of a garment and it goes up in price, then less people buy it, and that has a negative impact on the actual overall impact that you can achieve by doing that. If you raise the minimum wage of a country so that it must ethically pay all of its garment workers, then you make that country less economically viable versus its neighboring countries in manufacturing the goods. So understanding these interdependencies was really important to realizing a holistic solution that could help everyone. So in terms of Petit Pli, we use recycled bottles to manufacture the garment. The manufacturing process is streamlined. Because we're making one size, we don't have to make 7 different sizes, so it's much faster and easier. There's a 2% return rate, which is really good, both for the company's bottom line, but also for reducing unnecessary CO2 emissions. Something else we're doing is inspiring the next generation to consume less. And then the 100% monofiber construction allows the garment to be recycled much more easily at the end of life. And because we're an e-commerce brand, even the packaging is a zero waste concept, where the box that it arrives in can turn into a toy for the child to play with. These are the main UN Sustainable Development Goals that we focus on. So responsible consumption, climate action, decent work and economic growth, and industry innovation and infrastructure. And the impact that we can have could be huge. So the USA, there are almost 4 million births per annum. In France, there are 800,000 per annum, and in the UK, 730,000 births per annum. If you think that all of these children within 2 years are going to grow through 7 discrete sizes of garments, that's a huge amount of waste. And even if they're stored for the next sibling, that's really unnecessary storage that's taking up, again, more space, which is not really the most efficient solution. So we really want to have a positive impact by bringing this design to as many people as possible in the world. The way this started was really essentially experimenting, embedding shape memory alloys within the garments to electrically actuate them and make them grow. But then obviously, to be competitive, that had to be scaled back into something that was much more commercially viable, which is the end use that we have today. This was actually the first prototype, just the concept. And showing this concept was enough for me to understand if parents truly wanted this idea and if it made sense, because not being a parent myself, I needed to understand and discover through user research. As soon as it was possible, I manufactured a few minimum viable product sets and then sent these out for user testing. where I'd send them out for short, medium, and long-term testing, where people would quickly provide feedback that would really allow me to iterate the design as quickly as possible and understand essentially the market that I was working with, but also the product that I was developing. And through this user research, there were many elements of, say, the short term would be I'll show and tell and try and understand the response to the aesthetic, which is very different as a garment. Medium would be leaving it with the family for 1 or 2 days to understand the functionality and how they quickly used it and gather that feedback. And then finally, long term was leaving it with them for a month, 2 months, 6 months to understand the real durability of the performance of the design. So this is where we are now. We've gone through phase 1, and that's really focused on the children's wear and taking that to market. So the IP was developed. We amalgamated a huge amount of press and PR to get the word out there. Built a user database, set up a supply chain both in the UK, in London, and also in Portugal to a really high ethical standard. We tested 100 beta suits in 2018, where we sold these suits and gathered feedback over 6 months, 1 year, 18 months. And with that information, we were able to iterate the design and refine some certain things and reward those first 100 customers with a suit that took into account their feedback. Essentially, we were co-designing the garment so that we could deliver exactly what they wanted. And in this sense, they really gave honest and constructive criticism with which to allow us to iterate the design quickly. Since then, we've also won some Innovate UK funding from the UK government to further our knowledge in innovation and research and development within this sector. And we've scaled our production. So we've moved the localized supply chain is just for beta testing units. And then we move everything over to Portugal to scale up and manufacture at scale. And now we're focused on scaling our sales and seeing how we can essentially get this refined and great product out there in the world to actually have that positive impact. We've been featured in press worldwide, from Vogue to Nike, showing us as one of the best in the circularity workbook. We actually also exhibited in the Dubai grad show, where I was able to present in front of Sheikha Latifa. And that was a huge feat for us. More recently, we had to adapt in the last year. So it took about this time last year, we were going to release adult wear, but then we put that project on pause when the pandemic happened. And we really just focused on releasing these face coverings. And this was a real testament to the agility of the team, where we were able to ideate, prototype, test, manufacture, launch, and fulfill these products in just 3 months. And this is a testament to how the company is set up with such strong foundations in its supply chain, how the team is set up with their research and development being digitized and being able to work with that information on a remote scale very quickly and easily. And also our distribution model, which is direct to consumer, meaning we don't have to wait for wholesalers and retailers to purchase our product in quantity. We can just release it when we want to. And this was a huge benefit to us and really offered us great agility in a very challenging year. So I just want to thank you very much for listening. Particularly as a wearable technology company, we're going to clear the future of humanity, and we're just starting with the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, for sharing with us. And I'm still amazed, even if I have heard Ryan speaking a few times. So how are we feeling? Are we all feel wowed by these innovators? I hope there are some sparks and questions, and you are going to meet them in the breakout room after the break. So before we have a break, a gentle reminder, the Q&A session and the session after the discussion session will take place in Microsoft Teams. After the break, you have 15 minutes break. So please do join before 12:30. And the session will start on time, but if you don't have the link, please contact Fatma Essa or Haya Amahiri, so they will help you with the link. So let's have a break and then come back at 12:30 and have fun. See you all soon. Thank you. So if you are already back, just bear with us. Let's wait for another couple of minutes because some people are just leaving their breakout room and to rejoin this room. So I just got many texts from my facilitator saying they were leaving the room now and coming back. So we have 48 people now in on this GoToWebinar platform. Let's wait another minute so we can start the session very soon.
Hi, so can I start?
Right. So I believe all the breakout rooms has finished and everyone is well, either coming in or on their way to coming into this room with us. So I think for the time control, I am going to kick off. And well, I hope you all participated in the discussion and share your thoughts with each other. I heard back from facilitators that you had a very interesting discussions and there are a lot of notes they have taken. So I'm very pleased to know that. And I also want to say it's very interesting because we have 8 different teams and totally there were 6 innovations are selected. This is very, very exciting, isn't it? It means you all see, from different angles of how these innovations could thrive and help Dubai to be more sustainable. And it's great to know, everyone's kind of participating from either, your own background or your own experience, and then to contribute to the discussion. So I think that's a very, very great, interesting outcome for us. And remember, there is no right or wrong answer. There is no, this is not an exam or test like, oh, it has to be chosen this one or that one. No, this is really about, you know, from where you stand, either your job or your personal perspective, and then looking at these sustainability innovations, and then to see how could we help them, and how this innovation could really be doing good for Dubai. So now I will be inviting each room. I know there's a nominated person that will be feeding back, and don't worry, it just share a discussion that you have with us, and so we can learn from each breakout rooms. So let me check our different discussions. So room 1, you have selected Cambridge and CLV Bio. So can I have the Zoom 1 nominator person, Jerome, Natalie, are you here with us?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you. Great. So could you share with us why do you choose Cambridge and CLV Bio?
Okay, so Cambridge developed a new cooling technology that is significantly more efficient than what is widely available in the industry. The founder extensively talks about products such as fridges and appliances that use gas fluid cooling, and whereas his technology doesn't use this gas, so it's greener, and most importantly also it's more efficient. In terms of business applications and potential, the founder highlighted the data centers industry, which is obviously a very energy intensive and fast growing electricity consumer. In the UAE, we are being more and more digital. We've already deployed 5G networks. And in DEWA, we have a subsidiary called Moro that are basically data centers, and that's looking at, you know, delivering digital services as a digital hub for Dubai. So we selected this technology and this venture because we see this potential for significant cost reduction, competitive advantage in more data centers. Now, how would we support Cambridge, and what could be, you know, the go-to market within the DEWA ecosystem? We also identified that we have R&D capability that would be able to look into the details and to vet the maturity of this technology and its applicability on the short term for data centers. So we could have like a integrated approach where we have engineers and we have a big R&D center that could vet the technology's maturity to be directly applicable in data centers. Obviously, there's also the cooling for buildings that could have a huge potential. 50% of our electricity consumption is due to cooling in buildings in the UAE. This we didn't tackle that much this point with the founder, but it would be also investigated. So in short, a huge potential, and we have capability within DEWA to support, I think, with Research and Development Center, with direct benefits for our subsidiary called Moro, and we also have a Dubai Green Fund, which looks at investing and financing green initiatives. So I think that if we had vetting from R&D and a Moro business case, then most likely the Dubai Green Fund would be interested in investing potentially.
Right. Thank you very much, Jerome. That's a lot of information, and it's you should know, like a like-minded think the same. So our Zone 3, they also selected Cambridge as well, alongside with adiabatic. So I would like to ask Zone 3. So Masuma Amiri, are you with us? If you are, could you also just kind of supplement like other parts of how potentially we could support Cambridge in Dubai? Masuma, are you with us? Maybe Masuma is not yet back. Right. If that's the case, that's okay. Let's come back to Zoom 3 shortly. But then earlier I mentioned Zoom 1, they also selected Sylvie Bio. And then our Zoom 4, so you could see like every room, you kind of have a bit overlapping about in terms of what you choose. And so this is really cool, like to know other people have similar ideas as what you are thinking. And then you also kind of in a way validate like the opinions that you have. As I said, there's no right or wrong, but you can kind of compare notes and then to see what you can do a bit more and what you thought of and haven't, and then could exchange those ideas. So if I could have a Zoom 4, and then the Fatma, Jafar, Karim, and to talk about, you also chose Sylvie Bio, and why do you chose it, and why? How would you think you could support it? Can you share with us?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Viola. How are you? Thank you for taking us through the whole masterclass today. Actually, we were not confused, but actually we chose two different projects over here because the first one addressed which one could potentially bring the biggest impact for Dubai. So that was adiabatic. The potentials of the project could be seen directly, especially with the COVID scenario nowadays. We can, in order to market, like we can see the effect of the innovation being implemented right away, because we can get them in touch with the health industry, such as the Dubai Health Authority, the Ministry of Health, and Saha, who are all responsible for providing the COVID vaccines, as well as the other vaccines which are taking place hand in hand, like the flu vaccine and others. And then we can also have, we can also get them in touch with the humanitarian works industry, like we've got the Mohammed bin Rashid Humanitarian and Charity Establishment. We've got the Ministry of Development, who can all chip into that and try to bring this project forward or try to make use out of it. So the effect, the main reason we chose this is because we could see the results of the innovation right away. As a matter of fact, it's cost effective. It costs around £500, I believe, and it could be used for 10 years or reused for 10 years in that sense. It requires little maintenance and it's very convenient, and it can support the Clinic on Wheels initiative, which was recently introduced by our leaders. So whatever initiatives or whatever, whatever advantages we have to the innovation itself could be tested right away in the UAE, and this is something that really helps our economy and would help in sustaining what the affairs of the country, especially related to health. The second one, which inspired us as team members the most, was Petit Pli, because it's a very convenient project. It's highly innovative. You know, there are no competitors of the sort. They have their trademarks available. So, you know, in that case, it's very unique in what it offers to the rest of the to its customers in that way. In terms of the pricing as well, it may be introduced in a very systematic manner. We found it the most inspiring because it targets almost everyone in the industry, or almost everyone in our society in terms of having kids, with the families growing and the population increasing. And we also thought about ways of how we can market, because probably parents would need a bit of convincing into how exactly they can go ahead with Petit Pli, or choose the brand in comparison to other brands who have been present in the UAE since a very long time. So ways of marketing would be through Expo 2020 in the Sustainability Pavilion. With that coming up, I believe Petit Pli would be given the right platform to kick off or introduce its innovation to the world, not just to the citizens of the UAE and those settled over here. And then we could further market through the Ministry of Economy, where the trade licenses are usually registered, and then a flagship store and campaigns, the Dubai Fashion Week. We could also do campaigns through the discount programs that are available in the UAE, as long as parents are convinced that this sort of innovation is going to save money for them on the longer run than actually cost them money. And one more thing I have to mention is about the fabric, which was also brought up by our team. In order to introduce this sort of innovation in the UAE, we still have to work with the company on how we can introduce fabrics that are a bit more acclimated to our hot weather conditions in comparison to what they're currently using. So I guess that would be one step ahead of taking in the project and implementing it, and considering the high agility which Ryan was already talking about in his presentation, I believe that such a step would not be really difficult for them to implement and go ahead with. So these were our two choices mainly.
Thank you very much. And apologies, because I think I supposed to ask in room 4, but then I jumped, too excited and jumped to room 5. So let's let's come back to room 4. Sorry, room 4 should be Mashaya Oram. Do apologize if I pronounce your name in a not very accurate way. I'm trying my best. So room 4, you also selected CLV Bio. Could you tell us why you chose CLV Bio and how would you support them?
Sure, thank you so much, Viola. 80% of the food in UAE is imported, and we believe this project will help the leader. It will support the vision of leadership of UAE, especially the national food securing strategy. And we believe that we can provide them like technologies, researchers, lab, as well as we believe that there is like energy, agriculture, water nexus where we would like to discover it here in UAE. And we believe using different innovative technologies that recently available in the market, this project, it will impact the globe on long term, not necessarily to focusing on one area on the earth. Also, we have one concern that is raised from our colleague. How does it germinate? Any side effect of that? What are the plants that can grow using this technology? We believe that maybe using this technology in UAE and any part of the world, that will support us to grow some plants that not exist in hot arid zone area, for example. Also, we believe that this technology it will use less water, which is an issue here in UAE. So as I said earlier, that providing lab infrastructure for testing the seed and the technologies by itself, this is the way how we will support them. Also, we would like to compare like the existing garden and farms here in UAE, and if we are using this technology, what will be the impact on that. Also, share existing crops and seed example to study and modify, enhance. This as well support the food security at a global level. Also, how to market to the local audience. This is also how we can support them, so we can open market for these technologies to be here in UAE. At the end, also, we believe that if we would like to facilitate and to help this startup from admin and logistic perspective, they can sign memorandum of understanding at UAE level where we can support them on that as well. At the end, help with identifying local partners versus effective marketing, finding support from the government as well. So do you want me also to shed the light on the second one?
No, that's fine. That's fabulous. Thank you so much. I believe when we were listening to this feedback, you could tell the discussions is really from all different angles, from marketing angles, from business development angles, from technology angles. And that's why it's so great to mix up with different departments, because everyone is bringing their own experience and then to add value into this discussion to make it this rich for everyone. So that's great. And so next one, I think room 3, Masoma Amiri, are you back live online with us?
Good afternoon. My name is Masoma.
Masoma, great.
Yeah, we have selected Oxwash because it is a re-engineered laundry process. It has also new technology for dry cleaning, which is interesting, and don't compromise responsibility to environment. The way that we can support this company is to host a special event to encourage company and explain their sustainability credential, and also business development leverage network to assist their partnership with local business in Dubai. Marketing is very important, so we should be strong in marketing to put prototype at the event we host, such as Innovation Week, WITEX. People can pass by and check the prototype and how it works. We will also be near other leading companies, which will enhance their brand. Understanding Dubai's help conduct a survey to understand people's feedback on whether they like this technology or no, and how it will work. So all these things, it will help to support them. Also, we have selected the Comfridge company because it is technology that give us efficient energy and gas free. It has huge impact and reduction on energy consumption. Market positioning will collaborate with big players, put them in a good competitive position. So this is why we select Comfridge, and how we can support them. It is similar to Xwash in terms of marketing, investment, and other things. Also, we can do business development, introduce to end producers of appliances to help create partnership. Competitors analysis, we can do competitor analysis benchmarking against other organizations to see how they compare. Business development, to introduce it to the contractor who deal with the commercial, any data centers and residential building. End user research we can also conduct to ask business user about their present needs and opinion. So we hope these things can support them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a lot of information there. And indeed, like it's sometimes you think about the support, some of the support seems similar. Obviously, they all need a kind of an industry knowledge to put in there. So the discussion is really kind of try to put yourself in the shoes of these startups, where can they go, and then from all your own experience to think, then what can we do? So thank you very much for sharing with us. So we talked about Swash, and next I would like to invite the Room 6. So do excuse me my pronunciation. It's a Noof Aswali, was Aswati. Am I pronouncing correct at all? Maybe not, but please do correct me. I'm happy to learn to pronounce it properly.
Hi.
Noof, are you with us?
Yes, hi. My name is Nofa Swedi. Yeah, it's kind of correct. It's fine. Hi. So
thank you for this. So you guys, your team also chose Oxwash and Idealbatic. I just want to ask you, so in terms of Oxwash, because you in the notes facilitated provider, you also mentioned about working with hospitals and etc. So can you share a bit more what you think we could do to support them for Oxwash?
So we heard from Tom that they already worked with hospitals in the UK. So it would be a good start for them to work with local hospitals here to gain experience. And first of all, we wanted to get the product patented with IP and get a lot of contracts with clinics and hospitals, maybe start in Dubai and then expand. And in sense of market, and even in expanding, we wanted to finally make it open for the public. In sense of market, we wanted, we thought that the market is a very good and large for single workforce. So it would be a good idea because we have a lot of single males who live alone. And regarding pricing, we thought that the pricing is competitive and it has to have a good pricing range in sense of competing with the laundries here in the UAE. And in local customs, we have a lot of local people who would like to invest in this idea, and it will help in the local sustainability image. And we suggested for him to open a virtual office first, rather than opening shop. It will cut costs in a sense with a startup. And in regarding to investors, he could go to Dubai Smart City Accelerator and Future Accelerators. And we thought that it was such a relevant idea and it's good for the market to bring a sustainable idea to the UAE.
Thank you very much. I don't know about you all, but my introduction to Oxwash is when I listened to what they were trying to achieve, my head's really like the washing machine. You feel like, oh wow. And the thing this is kind of a startup. They keep developing further and keep thinking further. What else can we do? And I think it's that question, you keep asking yourself, what else can we do? What else can we do? And the more you ask these questions, you start to see the different things coming up. Maybe just an idea, but then when you talk to other people, they know things like a seeds just growing inside you. And then when you talk to other people, it's like a nutrition, water, sun, and then you just grow into a bigger idea and then a plan and then something else. So what I want to say is discussing about all this is very important. It's a powerful part of the process. Right, so next one up. So I would like to invite Zoom 8 because you also select Oxwash as well, but I would like to ask you, because you are the only team select Farad AI, we would like to hear from you, why do you choose Farad AI and how will you support them? So the nominator from Zoom 8 is Zednab Juma. Did I pronounce it correct? I hope it's not too bad, but are you live with us here?
Yes, Viola. How are you today?
Yes, very excited, as you could see. So please, would you like to share with us the reason your team chose Farad AI and how will you support it?
Okay. First of all, thank you for this time and this opportunity and a great workshop today. To talk about the Oxwash and the technologies we use, first I would like to remind everybody, as everybody knows, DEWA, sustainability is part of DEWA's mission. DEWA is always keen about sustainability, top management, DEWA's top management. DEWA's management has been involved from the very first and took part in Sustainable Development Summit. And all the DEWA support SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So if we talk about the Oxwash technology, is a sustainable technology, and it serves the goal 12 of SDG, ensuring sustainable consumption and production. Yes. Yes, we have chosen Oxwash solution to be can be actually adopted by DEWA to be used in, as my colleagues also they mentioned, few of them, Mr. Hassan, Nof, Swedi, and the others who have also mentioned this can be used if hygiene is strongly strong in the technology, can be used anywhere, like clinics, beauty salons, hotels, hospitals, universities, and elderly care houses. It can reduce not only water consumption, but also the bike they are using can reduce the carbon emission as well. Yeah, so this can be adaptable. And the second one, the technology which was for Mr. Ali, is also applicable to DEWA if for a new market, as it's DEWA scope. That's all I have for today.
Thank you very much. Yes, so I did join in the beginning into your breakout room to see who you guys choose, and I didn't stay for the whole period, but it's interesting what comes up. And totally, Farah AI is one of the companies that is, the innovation itself is in the domain of DEWA's your work. So on the electricity side and the kind of a future of how to redistribute energies, regardless the current energy or the renewable energy. So it is certainly very relevant. So it's great. The team is discussing about how potentially could support innovation like this to go further. So right now we have another 2 rooms, and sorry for keeping you the last. And the reasons for this is that actually our room 2 and room 5 and room 7, you all chose the same innovations, which are the petit pleat and the which one is it? Adiabatic. So petit pleat is our growing garment for children wear. And obviously, adiabatic, it's a vaccine carrier. I believe Katie has shown you the actual carrier because she currently is also in Dubai, I believe. So now I would like to invite room 2. So Saha Ali Adisi, if you could share with us, why do you choose petit pleat from your team? That would be great.
Yes, Viola. So we choose the petit pleat because it makes sense to a lot of parents, since the children, they grow like around 7 sizes in their childhood. And most of the parents, they don't plan for many children, so that like in my time, we used to keep the clothes for the next, children that we are going to have. So we were doing some kind of circularity in the family, but this is really a good idea. So even a family with 1 child would benefit from to have a cloth that will sustain and remain longer with them. So it is not only a saving in terms of cost, but it's also in terms of contribution to the sustainability of our planet. It makes sense. What we thought of how we support them is to, first of all, through the change management, to introduce this idea to the society. So without bringing up awareness about the benefit that these products would bring to the individuals themselves and their societies, I think this product wouldn't find, a good like acquire a good share of the markets. So we thought of supporting them by introducing the products at the, the places where parents most of the time happen to be there, like in the antenatal clinics, for example. So new mothers would be introduced to this product at an early stage before they start buying the garment for their children. Maybe also we could put this in nurseries, in any place where parents or expectant mothers will happen to be there. We also thought of why not to introduce a labeling system for clothes. We have labeling system for energy efficiency, for example, which is well known. And for some type of clothes, I noticed that in some shops they have certain labels for clothes, like this is, for example, 100% recyclable, this is child-free labor product, something like this. So why not to have also such, a systematic kind of labeling for the clothing system? So this will make a purpose. So when I go to buy a product, I would have a purpose why I buy it over the other one, even if it has a little bit elevated price. But if I am committed to my planet and it would serve a purpose that I believe in, or something I pledge myself to contribute to, then of course it will make sense for me. So without having such awareness through whatever marketing campaigns or labels or these things, it wouldn't make the same effect.
Thank you very much. So yes, I think when we chose petit pleat to be part of this innovation showroom, we do think about this is so relevant to, most of people, family, whether it's your own children or your niece, nephews, or your friends' kids. It's the innovation that it's just on a daily basis we could potentially use. And not only the innovation itself, it's really to rethink about the message behind it, because when we have kids, I have a 2-year-old myself, and then the kids were growing, and yes, we do try to get secondhand clothes from friends or family, try not to actually buy it because they just outgrow it so fast. But then if you do want to, treat your child or, friend's child, then it's a better options. Then I think particularly the innovation itself is really, the message is completely trying to help us to rethink what's possible. And they use their product to show you, well, it is possible to do it in a different ways. So I'm glad quite some of you has chosen particularly as one of the innovations that you like and would like to support. So our final room, room 7. So would you like to share with us a bit more about on the adiabatic side? Because I think they say, well, it's literally we are living it. With the pandemic happen and now vaccines start to roll out. But then when vaccine roll out, yes, well, we are in a city, things are easier. Vaccine is easier to get to us. But then for example, for the people who are living, it's more remote, then Katie's Smile vaccine carrier system could really help them. So room 7, if you could kindly share with us, that would be great. And I know I'm going to pronounce it not very well, but I will try. So Khadija.
Yes, it's Khadija.
Oh, great. Would you like to share with us why you chose it and how could you support it?
Actually, we chose both the Betty Belly and we chose the Ideabatic. So
yes,
the Betty Belly, I agree with Ms. Salha about the advertisement and the campaign and how to make it more into sustainable concept. I like the idea. Actually, the innovation was that he employed his engineering skills to the clothes field. I like the idea that he's thought about more durable use of the material. We as a team also agreed that he can diversify the use, the concept, and expand this material to furniture field also as well. For example, if you have like a duvet cover with different size, like king, queen, so he can use it and employed it in another way. Also, we thought about if he can change his target market and not only focus on children, where he can use it for in the medical field for the uniforms, or in the for like uniforms like football club or schools uniform. So it would be like more, the target market can be more broader than only exclusively making it for children. So yes, we like the idea, and me as well. I keep my clothes for my children. Like my daughter is 13 and my other daughter, she's 6 years old, and I use the same clothes sometimes, or the shoes. So we thought he can use it also in manufacturing other things rather than only clothes. But the idea itself very creative. And we would, if he advertised it here, we advise him like not to go to schools directly, rather than going to the like Ministry of Education or KHDA to advertise and market the product there.
Great. Would you like also to share a bit on the adiabatic? Just a quick,
yes.
How you will support them?
Yeah, actually, we like the idea of Ideabatic, and as she mentioned, it is more to avoid human errors and damages caused to vaccine due to human errors, and it is mainly, and in this field, you need to check which country is really in need for this innovation, and where this problem exists, like a huge human error in the transportation of the vaccine. At the same time, we thought as a group to expand the use in case if it's like some countries might have a financial concern now regarding the vaccine itself to make it available, not only about the packaging or transportation's issue, to afford the vaccine itself. So we thought for the time being also they can use it in other medical field like organ donations, or they can use it in cosmetic field, the same at the same box, or you like to maintain the water temperature if you transfer it to one place to another purpose and another use for the same box can be explored. But mainly I think they need to target a certain country who have an issue with the vaccine transportation.
Great, thank you very much. And I think that all our 8 rooms have feedback. So I'm wondering how everyone's feeling. And I would like to quickly just share my screen to ask you the same questions that we asked earlier. If I could have the share screen function, that would be great. And I'm just going to ask you this question. So now in the beginning of the session, you have done this. And now if it's the same Menti link and same code, so if you just go onto it, then can you tell us now after kind of this journey that you had in discussions in the breakout room, do you know how to support innovation? Do you feel like you feel more confident now after the session? So this is live. And please do like share with us as an anonymous. We just want to get an idea. So hopefully this journey kind of help you to feel like, yeah, I'm moving from no, I don't to at least maybe, or from moving from maybe to feel like, yeah, I think the discussion does give me kind of quite some good ideas that if I have an opportunity, the kind of excitement, feel like I want to try to see how I could really bring it on. So that would be great. So yes, I do see we are all feeling more confident than the beginning of this masterclass. And I think this is if you still feel like, yeah, I've learned a lot, but I'm not yet quite sure, it is okay, because, you know, this takes time, and the main point is we carry on this conversation, you know, within yourself, with your colleagues, with your friends, family. It's all very important. Lovely, that's very much what we would like to see, and so that is great. So if you want to carry on feeding it, that's absolutely fine. And final part, I just want to say, I know as an individual, it's quite easy to think, oh, there's nothing we can do about it, but we forget the role we have are not only as individuals. I mean, we are employees for DEWA in this organization, and you are also, you know, a member of family, society, and the planet. So as a person, we can always do more, either from a personal level or organizational level. Every major change or movement starting, you know, from individuals like our innovators and you as well, you know, who chose to support it. So don't underestimate your power and the role you play in promoting and supporting sustainability and innovation. So one conversation with your colleague in different departments, you might just inspire them to run an event that could, you know, make a change. And one share on social media about the new solutions might tackle like climate change, might just get, you know, them to someone who could potentially make a difference. And we are all connected. And like I always like to say, is what we do for sustainability matters. Yes, great. I would like to see all your faces, but it's not possible. But I'm sure you all feel like the passion that I'm feeling right now. So now, speaking of making changes in the organization with your fellow colleagues, we have Zoe Adam, our next speaker and final speaker, who is going to share more insight on how employees could be ambassadors for sustainable corporations. So then you can channel this excitement that you have so far and kind of find a roadmap for yourself and your organization. I know we were supposed to have a break, but because I know it's approaching slightly later time for everyone, so we will just straight away go into a session. So hopefully we finish slightly earlier than expected. But if you really really need to, use the restroom or get some water, please feel free to do so. But then I'm going to hand over to Zoe, and she's going to take you on the final journey of today's session. Zoe, can I send over to you?
Yeah, thank you very much, Viola. I think everybody can see my slides, and can you also see me? Viola,
So we can see your slide, but we cannot see you.
Okay. Great. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Super. All right. Well, hello, everybody, and absolutely delighted to be with you today, and really enjoying that conversation and report back with everybody there. So, and I think Viola has just kicked off this session really nicely by her closing remarks there in terms of don't underestimate your personal power. So the purpose of this session is just to give you a few more suggestions about how you can be an ambassador for the sustainable organization. And I've got few things that I want to share with you. So firstly, just a little bit of context. What's the leadership context and what's the regional context? And then I'm going to go through 6 steps. What are the qualities of an ambassador? 6 things to have you think about. And this is my takeaway message for you today that I want to start with, and I want you to leave the room with. And this is that a thriving future requires us to be ambassadors who engage and inspire others and lead with courage. And I think you've had some fantastic examples from the innovators that you've been speaking with this morning, how they've actually really inspired you, and how they've had to also be very courageous in stepping forward and taking the lead with their innovations. So what's the leadership context in which we are considering all of this? Well, this is taken from a report that CISL published a few years ago called Rewiring Leadership. And clearly the bigger context that we're in right now is the systemic economic transformation that we're looking for, and the positive social and environmental outcomes that we're wishing to achieve, and indeed must achieve right now. And then in terms of a more of a sort of micro and meso context, us as individual leaders, what are we doing to actually make the sustainable organization and the innovative organization possible, and how are we leading within the context of our organization? So how do we fit in with all of this? And this very much sits within the Cambridge leadership model that we talk about. So if you can see that the bottom half of the model here, we talk about being guided by purpose. What's our North Star? What's the vision that we wish to achieve? And I know that DEWA has a really ambitious and inspiring vision, and that the UAE has an ambitious and inspiring vision. And how do we achieve that? Well, to do that, we need to cultivate the necessary thinking, values, and practice. So that we can be truly capable leaders and ambassadors. And alongside that, we also need to be reflective and adaptive. You know, we often talk about the context that we're in as being VUCA, so volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We have to be able to sit in the discomfort. We don't have all the answers. And actually, as we've heard from the innovators, you know, part of how they started their journey was because they didn't have the answers and they wanted to find them. So how do we make sure that we can be constantly striving to look for the answers to enable us to achieve that bigger vision? And what's the regional context? Well, obviously you've got Expo coming up. You've also got your own incredibly strong ambitions for how you're going to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in the region. And to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in the region will only be possible with this culture of innovation, really ambitious innovation. And that's down to every single one of us as Viola. It's down to those every individual conversations that we have. Now, I should say that I have been incredibly fortunate and enormously grateful for having spent quite a bit of time in Dubai over the last couple of years. And the reason that I've been spending time in Dubai is because I get to work with some incredibly inspiring women who are part of our For Her DEWA ambassador network. So thinking about how we can be sustainable ambassadors in the region has been very, very much top of mind for me. And I've been visiting Dubai sometimes on an almost monthly basis. And as I said, I get to work with this incredible cohort of pioneers. And if any of you are in the room right now, I say a big hello. And I learn just as much from these women as they learn from me. And it really has taught me about the incredible leadership, innovation, ambition, and spirit coming out of the UAE right now to achieve these goals for sustainable development goals and also to achieve the UAE vision. And what I've seen is this inspiration and passion that's in every single individual. And that's truly, truly inspiring. So I'd like to thank all these women. And if you meet these women, you will know them because they are just incredible ambassadors for DEWA. So how can you be incredible ambassadors for DEWA? Well, just the sort of final contextual piece is that we need you. This is not a nice to have, it's absolutely essential. This diagram is taken from another CISL report called Rewiring the Economy. From a few years ago, and one of the things that the report says is that you need to identify the right moments to push. You can't achieve big change with a small team without using leverage. So it's a bit of an echo of the words of Donella Meadows a number of years ago, which says the sustainability revolution, if it happens, would be down to the actions of every single individual, millions of individuals, not just one or two superhumans. So what are the qualities of an ambassador? What are the qualities of a sustainable ambassador? I want to just cover off 6 points with you today. But first, before I do that, I want to get a sense from you of what you think the top qualities of an ambassador are. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and give Viola the opportunity to bring up the mentee poll here. So I know that you've done a few other mentees already. So would love to hear what are the top 3 qualities that you believe make an ambassador for a sustainable organization. So we've got a couple of suggestions there already. Passion, absolutely, having passion, being productive, being effective, having the confidence, absolutely. People will make decisions about how believable and credible you are before you even open your mouth. And when you think back to people that have really inspired you, that you've come into contact, what are the qualities that they're showing? They're showing empathy, they're proactive, they're knowledgeable, absolutely, they're underpinned with the knowledge, they're brave. Really important point, this idea of being courageous, because sometimes being an ambassador actually means stepping out. We've seen a lot around passion, people skills, really, really important. An ambassador is someone who does not have formal power. It's someone who brings people along through the qualities of their communications, their people skills, their leadership. So they're self-aware, absolutely. I love this, tempered radical. That's a really lovely expression. And I noticed that for those of you that were in the CEO Summit yesterday, that finished with John Elkington. So John Elkington is someone I have massive admiration for. And I caught the end of that session and I was very much thinking about how John is a radical. I'm not sure how tempered he is, probably more tempered in a different expression. So accepting criticism, this idea about learning, unlearning, relearning. How do we take feedback? Because the more feedback we can take on board, the more effective we can become. How can we be transparent? So you can see some great words coming up there: confidence, productive, proactive, not waiting for others, passionate, engaging. That's absolutely brilliant. So thank you for that, Viola. I'm going to go back to my deck now.
Fatma, please help us let Zoe to share her screen.
I think you need to just give it back to me, Viola. If you stop sharing, it will give you the option to give it back to me. Right, is it back on my screen?
I haven't.
No, still the Mentimeter is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Viola, if you stop sharing, and it should hand it back to me.
Right. Because I stopped sharing, but it's still sharing my screen here, I think.
Yeah, still seeing yours.
Yeah, now we'll give you the control.
Great. So if anyone's got anything else that they want to add to that list, and have a think about that list, what you've come up with, and we'll reflect on that as we go through.
Zoe, I believe Fatma have given you the choice.
Yeah, okay, super. So I think I'm back with you all now.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So your first steps as an ambassador, as I said, I've got 6 steps here that I want to take you through. And we've already talked about what's the leadership context, what's the regional purpose, regional context. We've talked about, what's the vision, what's the goal in the UAE, and what are the sort of global, what's the global vision that we're part of. And now I want to talk about how your first step as an ambassador of a sustainable organization is starting with the why. And I've got a couple of examples that I want to share with you that I think are powerful example of what we mean by starting with the why. And so firstly, ambassadors are active listeners, and I absolutely love this image. You can see how hard this individual is having to work to listen to this puffin. Now, he's really going above and beyond. It's not just like, tell me. He's got this massive listening device. It's like, if we could think of ourselves as active listeners, imagine having these huge, hairy ears that we can reach into the corners so that we try so hard to listen. And in my view, teaching leadership, I think this is the most underrated skill as an ambassador and as a leader, and that is how hard are we prepared to try, how hard are we prepared to go when it comes to listeners. So step 1 is about being active listeners. And I want you just to listen to this. This is a 20-second clip, and this very much is, what's the why that we're trying to achieve. And just to give you some context, this woman was the first African to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, and she started a movement called the Greenbelt Movement, which has planted over 50 million trees and created livelihoods for tens of thousands of women. And in 20 seconds, she sums up what the why is.
I think that it is very, very important to continue encouraging our governments and ourselves that the environment is not really an issue for tomorrow. The environment is an everyday issue. It's the air we breathe, it's the water we drink, it's the food we eat. And we can't live without these things.
So how do you tap into your biggest why? What are you trying to achieve? We've talked about DEWA's goals, the UAE's goals, what we need to achieve globally, what all of our innovators today have been tapping into. How do you summarize that? And you can see that Wangari Maathai does this so eloquently in 20 seconds. We need to persuade our governments and our organisations that the environment is not just an issue for tomorrow, it's an issue for today. It's the air we breathe, it's the water we drink, it's the food we eat, and we cannot live without these things. Now, this young woman came to prominence at the beginning of the year. She's the Youth Poet Laureate in the States. And this is a 12-second clip where she asks 2 questions. And part of listening and part of working out as the why is helping to ask those brave, courageous questions, as you put in the poll.
I have 2 questions for you. 1, whose shoulders do you stand on? And 2, what do you stand for?
So one of the comments that you made in the poll there was knowing yourself, really knowing yourself, taking on board feedback. So it's what do you stand for? Because as an ambassador, you need to be powered by that passion, by that conviction, that vision for what you're trying to achieve. It's not easy. It's on the side of your job. You've already got a big responsibility as a member of your family, in the organization, everything else you're trying to achieve. So what do you stand for, and whose shoulders do you stand on? So secondly, ambassadors know their sphere of influence. And this is really important. And if we think about, kind of old-fashioned ambassadors who were sort of court emissaries in the 14th century or ambassadors now, they don't have formal power. So they need to know their way around. They need to know who they must influence. And they need to think beyond their current sphere of influence and think about how they can expand their sphere of influence. So how do you get to the person in the top left-hand corner if they're 2 people away from you? How do you make the most of these micro moments of influence and impact? Because the big set pieces are not enough. When we think about the connective tissue of our organization, it's about reaching out. It's about every sinew in terms of how we connect with others in our organization, how we connect, listen, persuade. And the third of our key steps is being able to walk in our stakeholders' shoes. So after listening, I believe that really being able to walk in our stakeholders' shoes is the most effective thing we can possibly do if we want to be a great ambassador. And the chances are our stakeholders are going to have different shoes to us. They might not fit us very well. But if we're going to think about how we communicate with them, how we inspire and engage, we need to understand what the world looks like from their perspective. And there's been some really interesting research done in this area. There's a museum called the Empathy Museum, and they actually have a touring exhibition called A Mile in Their Shoes. And what they say is, if you actually walk a mile in your stakeholders' shoes, and they've got a lovely exhibition where you put on headphones and you listen to the life story of the person whose shoes you're walking in, they say it actually changes your brain chemistry. So you deepen that empathy, which was another one of the words that you identified at the beginning there. And then the fourth of our key points here is ambassadors reach across the lines. And this is really important because we've got very stuck in our silos. And we see this in organizations, we see it in all walks of life, that we tend sometimes to have a narrower and narrower focus where we're just talking to people like us and we're not reaching across the lines and talking to different types of people. Now, these days, we're all stuck behind a computer screen, we're stuck on our phones. We don't even have the serendipity of bumping into someone at a networking event or choosing to cross the room to speak to someone. And this is a very short clip, and it's from an academic called Jason Jay, who wrote a fantastic book that I'm a big fan of called Breaking Through Gridlock, The Power of Conversation in a Polarized World. And this, if you think about it, is what ambassadors do. They are absolutely brilliant at working the room. They do reach across the lines. They connect people, a bit like today. If you think about the innovators, they've had to connect with lots and lots of different types of people. And part of their role now and the success of their innovations is going to be determined by how they reach across the lines, how they have conversations with people like yourselves. So I'm just going to share this short clip with you.
There are 3 lessons that I think it's worth sharing. The first one is, don't stay preaching to the choir. We so often fall into talking with people who already agree with us, who already prioritize the issues that we do, see the world the way that we do. We have to get beyond that. We have to reach across the lines. We have to get outside our comfort zone. If we want to challenge our own views and learn, if we want to get our views across, and if we want to build conversation and consensus in society. The second lesson is, when you do that, don't go in hot. We often show up feeling right about our perspective and righteous in our values and certain about the solutions that we want to bring to the table. And there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in that. Take a moment and pause. Reflect. Think about, what is it that you really care about? What is it that you really want to have happen in the relationship and on the issue? Think about your assumptions and your prejudices and background conversation about the other person. Set that aside so that there's room for you to listen. The third piece is, when you listen, listen for what they are for and not just what they are against. And understand what you are for and not just what you are against.
So I absolutely love that. I think there's so much to learn about being a successful ambassador in those words there. It's like, don't go in hot. Often when we're talking about sustainability, we have to play the long game. We have to put ourselves in our stakeholders' shoes and just take our time, start with listening, then more listening. And as Jason J said there, listen for what they are for and not what they are against. And how can you start to edge closer to each other? Ambassadors inspire innovation with stories. Now, a lot of my work is around storytelling, and I talk about actually there being 5 steps to story. So the first one is story listening. You won't be surprised to hear that. The second one is story building. Where's the gold? Where's the hidden treasure that we can use to sort of sparkle when it comes to our vision? So story listening, story building, storytelling, which in a way is the easy piece. Story doing, what do we actually like as organizations? How have we embedded sustainability? How are we inspiring and encouraging innovation? How are we becoming innovation doing organizations? And the fifth one is story being. How do you show up as ambassadors? What is it? What are those qualities we talked about at the beginning? Empathy, confidence, self-knowing, transparency, listening. How do we make sure that we're really living those qualities? Well, it takes a lot of effort. And how we tell stories, so that every time we have an encounter with someone else, they leave with a message. So you remember that I started my session here with my takeaway message, which was, a thriving future requires us to be ambassadors who engage and inspire and lead with courage. What's your takeaway message about innovation, about sustainability when you encounter others in the organization? And obviously I saw the videos by the innovators, I've seen their presentations, and I just wanted to pull out a couple of examples that inspired me and I thought were great stories. Now this is from Kitty's presentation. I mean, oh my gosh, what an amazing slide. Look at the stories that she's telling here. You've got the guy who's carrying his bike across the flooded field. You've got the person who's crossing the rope bridge. And then you've got the people in the boat. I mean, each of these, the last mile, the critical last mile stories are beautiful, beautiful stories. You can imagine the suspense. Are they going to get to where they need to go before they run out of their 50 hours of cooling time? How do How do we make it work? How are we pushing our innovations? And then I loved these ones from Ryan. I mean, I just think this is absolutely gorgeous. By the way, there's lots of super studies on what makes people change. So there's a really interesting book by a guy called Chris Rose, and he cites a study that was done in a city. And what they did in this city was that they dropped loads of wallets on the ground. And the wallets contained various things, and some of them contained a picture of a baby, some of them contained a picture of a puppy, some of them said, we donate to charity, some of them had no pictures in them whatsoever. And you probably won't be surprised to know that the pictures that got returned most, the wallets that got handed in and returned the most were the ones that had pictures of babies in. No, it's in our DNA to be attracted to a picture of a baby. And a close second, by the way, is a puppy, because a puppy actually has very similar features to a baby. So look at Vigo. I mean, would Vigo not inspire you to be an incredible innovator? And then I also love this one, absolutely beautiful. So it's just gorgeous. Wearable technology for the future. Really, really nicely done. And I didn't think it was surprising that in the report back, how many of you had chosen Ryan's innovation to focus on. Okay, so my sixth and final step to being a successful ambassador of a sustainable organization. And this is ambassadors continually seek out inspiration. How do we build a culture of learning? Recognizing that we need to keep on learning, unlearning, relearning, be comfortable in the discomfort. There is so much going on in the world. The only way we can possibly hope to make sense of it is if we are continually learning. And I think, again, drawing on the example of John Elkington yesterday, John is someone who seeks out young people. He was asked at the end of the session what was his advice would be, and he said, listen to young people. So ambassadors continually seek out inspiration. And you remember that quote from Amanda earlier in this presentation, which is, whose shoulders do you stand on? If I've seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants, said Sir Isaac Newton. So who are your giants? Who is going to inspire you to see further? So those are my 6 steps, and just a reminder of my key takeaway message for all of you. You've had an incredibly inspiring day, and I hope that you can leave this session as ambassadors for a sustainable organization. And remember that a thriving future requires us to be ambassadors who engage and inspire others and lead with courage. So thank you all very much indeed. That's the end of my presentation. I'd like to now hand back to Viola.
Thank you very much, Zoe. That has a lot for us to take in, but you are all doing some part of it already. So it's great that we have today's session. So now I'm actually really pleased to see we still have 54 people live with us till the end of today's masterclass. I know it has been quite a journey today, and we have shared this experience together. We have learned about the roles innovations play for sustainability. We have discussed with each other how we could support sustainability and innovation as an individual and as an organization. And then Zoe's session, brought you into an area to think from yourself, from your angle, how you could influence others, other people, friends, family, colleagues, as well as stakeholders. And there are a lot of great ideas and thinking for you to just close your eye for a moment and then always sink into yourself, and slowly you could feel like there's something growing inside you. This is like a seed. We are planting seeds today. So I think to wrap up today, I would like to encourage all of us, myself included, we should carry on this sustainability conversation and share and listen to people around us about, sustainability, about innovations, because just while we are doing this, we are using our individual power to influence and then to share stories, to pass on the passions that you have today when you see all these amazing innovations. So if I have to use my takeaway sentence, my one sentence for today for you to take away, I think I would like to go back to that sentence when I said, we are all connected, and any tiny thing we do for sustainability really matters. So that would be everything for us today, our masterclass. And I hope you all enjoyed it and have learned a thing or two. And please do carry on the conversation with your friends, family, colleagues. And I believe we will be sharing the survey about today's masterclass shortly. And please tell us how we do, and we will carry on improving what we are trying to do here. Thank you very much, everyone. So